News Radio 840 WHAS coming up on today's Louisville Real Estate Show. What happens if LG&E wants to cut down one of your prized trees on the front of your property to do some digging? Also, can your home be foreclosed on even if your mortgage is paid off, but you owe back property taxes? Also, we'll review some of your comments on our past questions and answers, and what can you do to protect trick-or-treaters coming to your front door? Hi, everybody. Bob Sokoler, owner of the Sokoler team at RE/MAX Properties East. We've got an interesting show for you. Hope you can stick through it till the top of the hour. Staying with us through the entire show, Lee Harris. Lee is she's really the head honcho, but we call her legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow. She knows it all. And you can reach her if you're an agent or if you're looking to close your home. Lee and Limestone does a great job. You can reach Lee at 649-7964. Also, Randy Rocky, he's co-owner of Swan Financial. They do a phenomenal job of getting you the best mortgage rate. And let's face it, they're going up and down. But Randy and his team will shop the mortgage to get you the very best rate. You can reach Swan and Randy 645-0736. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the near future, I would love to be able to help you. All you need to do is give me a call. There's no home too big, no home too small. We can handle both Kentucky and Southern Indiana. You can reach me anytime at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com. And if you want to see what your home is worth right now, instantly go to WeSellLouisville.com and click at the top of the page of what your home's worth, and we'll get something out to you computerized, but it will be immediately. All right, let's start with the questions that we've got coming in. Let's start with this one for you, Lee. And I want to kind of get your opinion, and Randy, you as well on this. So I had Jarvis, my home, on the market for a little while, and I got an offer from an out-of-town company, but it was sketchy. And here's what I found that they were trying to do. So this is a warning to anybody who's putting their home on the market or who's going to put it on the market. They wanted to pay me a decent price, but the caveat would be that they would basically take possession. I would continue with my mortgage in my name until eventually rates came down, and then they would go ahead and they would finance it in their own name. Your thoughts on this, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, I know.
My thoughts are that's a very bad idea. I think they refer to that as subject to the mortgage. And so naturally, a lot of things could happen that could go badly in that deal. Number one, you're still responsible for the mortgage. What if they mess up the house?
Right.
What liability do you still have? All kinds of, I just think it's a bad idea. If you're going to sell. If you're going to rent,
Yeah, giving somebody else possession of your house in name on the deed, and then you holding back the mortgage. This is a scam and a problem in the making. At first, I thought they wanted to assume the loan, which I do not believe was assumable. And Brandy, these days, loans are not assumable, basically because of the difference in interest rates. Am I correct?
VA is the only one you can assume the loan, but you have to. Let's say you have a $300,000 loan; they're selling it for $500,000. Then you have to have $200,000 at the different interest rate. But the only one you can do that is on VA.
Yeah, this was a real problem. So,
yeah.
So be aware if you got a company calling you. This one's from Arizona. Be aware. Do your due diligence. And
how many times do you think that's happening?
Oh, I think it's happening a lot now.
All the time.
Yeah, and are people falling for it? Well, maybe they are. That's why we're talking about it on the air. Yeah,
they are.
All right, so just keep an eye out for that, folks. This is going over to Randy Rocky. Denise emailed us saying she has a payoff on her mortgage. It's completely paid off at this point. And Lee, you may want to jump in this as well with Randy. But he owes 22 and 23 back taxes. And Denise is thinking the city is threatening foreclosure. Somebody's threatening foreclosure. Thoughts on that?
Yes. So probably what's happened is somebody has purchased those overdue tax liens. There's a lot of companies out there who, once the sheriff puts them up for sale because they're late, then people buy them. That gives that person the right to collect on those taxes, including attorney's fees and interest. And if you don't pay it, then they have a right to foreclose on your house. So, yes, if his mortgage is paid off and all he owes is these taxes, no matter how much they are, I would say it would very much behoove him to contact the company who has bought these tax liens and to pay that off.
And it's not just the tax liens anymore. They're going to charge a surcharge on top of the.
They're going to charge attorney's fees. They're going to charge interest. They're going to charge a lot. on
Yeah.
top of it. So if
So-
let's say the tax bill was $500, it might be $3,000 now.
Now, is it the normal foreclosure procedure where they have to put it up for auction and then the person holding the house still gets the extra money minus
Yes.
the fees? Okay.
Yeah. So this is so be wary of this. I'm really concerned about it. So, all right, let's move on. Randy, Lucas writing in this email, he's buying a home towards the end of the year, which is fairly soon, and he's wondering what credit qualifications do mortgage companies require? Also, are they requiring the same documentation, or do some mortgage companies require more than others? It's an interesting question, Lucas. Randy?
Yeah. So to buy a home, yes, there are certain companies that require a lot more information than others. And it's called overrides for loans. Yes, it does matter who you use. And you should be in a situation where someone can run an approval for you and tell you, okay, here are the documents I need before you purchase a home, and go through all those and say, hey, this is what I'm going to need from you to get you an approval. And then after that, you should be good to go.
Okay, let's move back over to Lee Harris over at Limestone. Bill lives along Brownsboro Road, just contacted by LG&E that they need to do some digging on his property to relay some lines, some electrical lines. Problem is, digging would require the removal of several rare trees at the front of Bill's property. And Bill says in this email he does not want that to happen. He's also worried if they dig around the trees, it'll disturb the roots and it'll kill the trees anyway. So he's wondering, what can he do? Lee?
Well, it depends. If the LGD has an easement in that area, then they are allowed to do whatever they need to do to make sure that the electrical lines are either buried or hung so that it will service the whole neighborhood. If not, and they really need it, there's certainly a thing called eminent domain where a government agency can pay for a certain portion of someone's property. And it's not usually fair market value, but it's allegedly fair market value. But there's not a whole lot you can do if they really need to be there. And it's going to affect the utilities for the area. The government's probably going to win that argument, or the LG&E is going to win that argument.
And I would suggest bringing an arborist in to look at the trees and kind of give an idea of where LGE, in the best case scenario, could dig without hurting the trees. And maybe they'll acquiesce to what an arborist would say would be the way to go. A reminder, you can see a copy of the audio and video version of today's show. Go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's a redirect to our YouTube channel, LouisvilleAnswers.com. Also, if you want to see what both sellers and buyers are saying about us with our reviews, we're very proud of our reviews. Go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. Well, we do a lot of questions from you from emails. Bob at WeSellLouisville.com is the email. We also cut those questions up and put those back on YouTube, and we get comments from both you from the questions on YouTube and from listening to this show. So I've started something here a couple of times now. We are looking at the feedback from the show. So Lee, Brandy, this one, you may remember it was entitled, I Improved My Home, but the City Took It Away. The eminent domain, speaking of that. And we get, in all too many cases, and again, I'm protecting the names of the people who write us. Lewis says, in all too many cases, the local government takes a property, then sells the property to someone else, usually a developer, and that is supposedly in the public interest. And Lewis says, I think that's just plain evil and wrong. On this, Lee, can the city take a property and then resell it to a developer?
Well, yes, if it is in the public interest. So there are certain places where somebody has their homestead or has lived for years and years, and maybe the development is coming all around them and they refuse to sell. They say, no, there's no interest. There's no public benefit for my particular house. I want to keep my house. Mm-hmm. And if that developer or that project or the government or whoever's trying to take that property can show to a court, that they really need this property for the public interest, say it's on a beachfront or say it's on in the middle of some other commercial development or right in the middle of some new development and this one house is just holding it up. Yep. If they can prove that it's publicly necessary, they can take it. If they can't, then the person gets to keep their house.
Well, on that same question, we elicited a lot of response. Paradise Road to the question, the person who sent the question, ask why they're taking the property, and then they have to give you enough to replace what one is losing. And I guess in that case, they have to give you fair market value, is what she's referring to, correctly?
Right.
Yep.
So how many times does that happen on a residential property where they can take it away if it's just like, let's say it's in the East End somewhere? I mean, where they say, hey, this person's holding out.
It's going to depend on whether they need a road to go through there, whether they need to put up a bridge, whether they need to put up some kind of something that's supposedly in the public interest, whether it's a hospital or whatever it might be. If that particular property is blocking that, or they can't build around it, or it's just not going to work with that residential property there, then they have the right to claim public interest.
But not on a private development so much. So if there's not anything where it's just a builder, a couple builders, or one builder buying it, would they get away with? I mean, would they be able to get that done as well?
Eminent domain is a governmental
right. Okay, I got you.
It's not going to be not private, right? Yeah,
right.
On another subject, a topic we had: mortgage secrets, changing lenders after an offer. The response we got from Chris: good information. So Randy, good going on that. On a final topic that we'll talk about here, secrets revealed why blurring your home on Google Maps is crucial. You may remember that a couple of months back. Gas Pump said, much appreciation for the Google Map info. Just submitted my notice. That was to help blur your photo on Google. Desperado says, I never gave Google permission to even post my home. We should all sue. And Crypto said to that, thanks again for the information. It's interesting how Google took the pictures without asking my permission, then sells the data to people like Zillow and then collects revenue, but doesn't give me any of it. Thank you for the information, because now I can fight back. Now, those are some of your comments. You can see those comments by going to our website. Go to LouisvilleAnswers.com or LouisvilleQuestions.com. That LouisvilleQuestions.com is a new direction where we're also posting the individual questions that you can see and the comments made by you, the listeners. A reminder
I got a call the other day from one of our listeners, Betty, and she listens to our show. So, hi, Betty. I hope you're got all that worked out.
Good. Betty, thanks for listening. Thank you all for listening. I don't say that enough. We appreciate that. And a reminder that if you want to visit our Facebook page, go to LouisvilleRealEstateNews.com. We don't talk about that a whole lot, but maybe we should. LouisvilleRealEstateNews.com. And if you want to send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com is my direct email address. When we come back, we're talking about trick-or-treating, just a short time away, and who knows what that could mean in terms of little visitors coming to your front door. There are some dangers you want to keep an eye on. Continuing with us will be Lee Harris, legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. They do a great job getting your loan closed. I was just there last week and had a cookie, which is really good. 649-7964. Trust me, if you have the cookie, you'll know why I keep telling you have the cookie. 649-7964. Also, Randy Rocky, one of the head guys at Swan Financial, with a shop to get you the best rate for your loan. You can reach Randy 645-0736. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the near future, I'd love to be able to help you. No home too big, no home too small. We go everywhere, both southern Indiana and in Louisville and outside areas as well. You can reach me anytime, 376-5483. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com and fill out the form. And if you want, go to WeSellLouisville.com and get an instant analysis via computer on what your home is worth. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. We're here with you to the top of the hour. And thank you so much, Barbara Corcoran, for being a mentor and a friend. You can see Barbara on Shark Tank, and we appreciate her being involved with us on this radio show. Also, we want to thank Randy Rocky, who's one of the head guys at Swan Financial, for staying with us. Does a great job shopping your loan to get you the best rate, he and his folks. You can reach Randy at 645-0736. Lee Harris continues with us. She's legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. They do a great job of getting your loan closed at the closing table. You can reach Lee, 649-7964. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the near future, I would love to help you. Just give me a call at 376-5483. No home too big, no home too small. and I go everywhere, and it's me. I come out, we talk. I'll spend as much time as you need answering your questions. It's free and no obligation. You get the answers, and I get to meet you, and we have a good time talking about real estate, which I love. Again, 376-5483. Go to bobsellslouisville.com. You can also click on that, and you'll enter a form there, and I'll get that. And if you want an instant analysis of your home pricing, go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page. All right, so here we go, folks. We got trick-or-treating coming just days away, and you need to be sure that none of the little trick-or-treaters get hurt. So you want to inspect your property. You want to walk around the property, paying close attention to sidewalks, steps, driveways, and lawns. Identify any potential tripping hazards like cracks, uneven surfaces, or loose debris, and then repair or remove those hazards. And then fix any notable issues like broken steps, loose boards, damaged pavement, remove clutter or garden tools that could obstruct walkways. Remember, those kids are going to be wearing masks in many cases, obstructing some of their view of the sidewalks. Fix any noticeable issues, then secure decorations. Ensure your Halloween decorations are securely fastened and not positioned in a way that could cause someone to trip. Make sure you've got adequate lighting. Make sure your porch and walkway are well lit to help people see where they're going. Keep your pets inside or securely leashed during trick-or-treating hours to prevent them from startling or potentially biting visitors. If there are hazards that can't easily be fixed, consider placing clear warning signs to attract and alert trick-or-treaters. Remove any of the leaves that may be falling, branches, other debris from walkways. And if you have a large yard, designate a clear path for trick-or-treaters to follow to get to your home. Lee, I think that pretty much sums up anything else from a legal standpoint, because if someone gets hurt on one of our listeners' properties, they're at risk, right, for potential damages?
Yes, for a trick-or-treater type of situation, because there's things called trespassers and then there's things called invitees. So if you're having a dinner party and you invite people over, or if you turn on your light and you say, come trick-or-treat at my door, you're inviting those people to come to your property. They're not trespassing, so it gives the owner a higher level of liability. So all the things that he mentioned are very smart. Just make sure no one's going to fall in a hole or trip on the sidewalk or, any of that, because it potentially could be the liability of the homeowners. And then you have to make a claim on your homeowner's insurance. And, of course, that could raise your rates and cause all kinds of problems. So,
okay, hopefully that helps you. We're just days away. Randy Rocky, Swan Financial. Zoe is not sure what type of loan she's going to need to buy her first home. She has and knows there are different types like FHA and conventional,
Right.
but she's asking in this email, what are the types of loans, kind of a short list of them, and then how does she know what's best for her? It's a good question, Zoe. Randy?
Yeah, great question. So conventional, FHA, USDA, VA, and those are the ones that really kind of stick out on a first-time home buyer, and it depends on credit score and where rates are that day. Sometimes a FHA is better than a conventional loan right now, even with a higher credit score, because the rate is so much difference, even with private mortgage insurance. So really that is a situation where you need to call your loan officer and fill out an application, and then they will go through the options with you.
Okay, and that loan officer you want to trust, because they should have the knowledge of what, where, and when is going to be best for you. So hopefully that will help you.
And one last thing on that is first-time home buyers. There are a lot of people, even not first-time home buyers, that are doing zero money down loans. And we have a lot of options for that.
Okay, good. We'll give out Randy's number in just a little bit. If you would like to see what sellers are saying about us, I do videos with some of our sellers at closing tables. You head to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. That's LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. All right, this next question goes over to Lee Harris. There are actually two questions similar, so I lumped them together. Lee, Jimmy emails us with this one. What does it cost to convert residential land into commercial zoning, and what's the process involved? Yeah, Lee, that's a tough one.
okay. So depending on what county you're in, every county has something that's akin to a planning and zoning division or planning and design in Jefferson County. And they have an application process. So if you're zoned in an R area, residential, some type of residential, and you want to change that to commercial, you have to fill out their application. You will have to do all kinds of things like surveys and site plans and They will have a hearing on this, and they'll either approve it or not. The neighbors have a right to come out and comment on whether they want a commercial property if it's near a residential area, all of that. It probably will take somewhere 6 to 9 months if you're really doing it quickly. And it will cost quite a bit of money. It's not necessarily the application that costs that much. It's the site plan, the attorney's fees, things that you'll have to have assistance in doing that. That's a pretty hefty lift for an individual to do alone.
Yeah, and mind you that if you're thinking of selling the property to a potential developer with the anticipation that that developer can go through that process so you'll make a lot of money, I would tell you, you may want to think again, because the developer won't buy on spec, because it could be turned down and then they're back to where you are right now. So it's not that easy to do. Second question, Stefan has land zoned residential. He was told by, I don't know who, a friend, that a developer could build apartments on the land even though it's zoned residential. Lee, any thoughts about that?
It depends on what residential it's zoned. There's R1, there's R2, R3, R4, and they'd have to look up what zoning they specifically have. You can go on Logic, which is an online service, put in the address and find out what zoning they have, and then take that number and then go to the planning and design website and look up what things are allowed under that designation. If it's allowed to have multifamily properties such as apartments, that might be okay. It's usually not going to be a huge building. It's usually going to be more like a duplex or maybe a triplex on a residential lot. But yeah, it really depends on, and there's also grandfathering. This is a new property build, sounds like, but sometimes when there's been a property somewhere for a long time, prior to 1971, they can have it grandfathered in that way.
A reminder for everybody that if you would like to see some of the videos that we put out, and we do have twice a month, we put out videos on real estate topics that you might be interested in. I think you might be very curious. Go to LouisvilleHomesVideo.com. That's Louisville Home Video. That's singular, LouisvilleHomeVideo.com. All right. In this question, Randy, and I would think maybe even Lee, you have part of this. Jessica wrote us an email. She's having problems paying her mortgage, and unfortunately, we're seeing more and more emails like this. Mm-hmm. She heard about Save My Kentucky Home, and she's wondering what's that about.
That would be more probably a Lee. Lee, do you know anything about that?
I know at closing, you always bring that up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a document that tells people their rights if they have issues with paying their mortgage. If you get about 60 days behind on your mortgage, you're supposed to receive a notice from your servicer or your lender letting you know what your options are. They could be doing a loan modification. They could be doing a refi, or you could tack on what you owe at the end. This program is not something, that name I'm not familiar with, but there are a lot of state programs, federal programs that help people when they get in bad situations with their mortgages. And so it's totally worth looking into that if you're in dire straits, to see if there's some money available out there to help you get caught up.
Got it. This over to Randy. Michael, going to buy a home shortly, sent us an email asking about mortgage rate locks. How long are they good for? If he's building a home, can he lock in his mortgage rate when he signs a contract, especially if the rates have come down? Randy?
You can. In most situations, we can do, 180-day lock, but the rates are much higher. There are ways we can renegotiate that too. So yes, you can lock in at 180 days. But in most situations, people lock in 60 days or less. But yes, we have done that more than once, where we've locked in rates as much as 6 months.
Oh, good. So there's some hope there. All right. I think this may be the last question for the show, Lee. Jessica sent us an email, says her father passed away a few years ago. Sorry, Jessica. And they were not very close, she says, but she was wondering if there's any way to find out if any of the pieces of the property that he owned were in her name. Is there a way to do that, Lee?
Yes. So she could do two things. One is she could go on the Jefferson County Clerk's office, assuming this is in Jefferson County, or whatever county clerk's office, and put in his name and see if there's any deeds in his name, and click on those deeds and see if her name is on any of them on title, and if they are in survivorship, which means that when he passed away, she would receive those just automatically without going through probate. And she could also go on the PDA website and put in the property address, if she knows any, or the owner's name, and pull it up. That way it will tell you who owns the property, and you can also click onto the deed there and see who is on title. If they're not, and there's no will, then children do inherit in a succession, which is generated by statute. So she may have interest in the properties even if her name is not on title.
Got it. Good stuff. Thank you, Lee, on that. Thank you, Randy. Incidentally,
Sure.
Next week, we're going to talk about are we all ready for cold weather with some tips, home maintenance tips, and a checklist for homeowners. That's coming up on next week's show. My thanks to Randy Rocky, who is the co-owner of Swan Financial. They have a great ability to get you the very best mortgage rate by shopping the loan. You can reach Randy and his team at 645-0736. Also, my thanks to Lee Harris, who's legal counsel at Limestone Title and Escrow. They do a great job of getting your loan closed, and they have those great cookies. And you can reach Lee at 649-7964. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or next year, whenever, I would love to be able to help you. There's no home too big. There's no home too small. You call me, and I will come out. Yes, me. A free, no obligation discussion. We can just talk about what the process is, come up with dollar figure, maybe even look at some of the techniques for getting your home staged properly. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone, 376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com and fill out the form. And remember, for free instant analysis, it's computerized, but it's ready for you right now. Go to WeSellLouisville.com, and at the top of the page, click on the What's My Home Worth and fill out the form. We'll get it to you immediately. All right, we're out of time. We will see you next Sunday right here on News Radio 840 WHAS.